In fact, another story on the front page of the Times, which we'll talk about as well. Keir Starmer apparently is planning to put into the Labour manifesto that the Labour Party will recognise Palestine as a state, regardless of the state of play regarding peace talks between Israel and Hamas. Jake, I'm not quite sure what to make of this, but I'm sure you'll have something to say about it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Keir Starmer has spent the last few years, and in particular the last few weeks, in visibly purging his party of the Corbynite rump, the hard left. And he's paid a price for it, particularly since October the 7th. He's been under attack from the left of his party and Muslim-dominated constituents in the north for supporting Israel to the extent that he has done. And this seems to cut against that, rather, to propose that he would recognize unilaterally a Palestinian state before negotiations are concluded seems like a bone being thrown to the hard left. I think many mainstream voters will wonder whether the tail is not still wagging the dog in the party. I mean, look, obviously, reacting to the worst atrocity since the Holocaust that Jews have suffered by a few months later offering a Palestinian state seems like a reward for bad behavior, to put it mildly. Hamas are going to be celebrating because it looks like Western capitulation to them. There was a poll last week which showed that 71% of Palestinians, both on the West Bank and in Gaza, thought that October the 7th was a good idea. Really wise to give a state to a society that's dominated by that. And if there was a further October the 7th based on this from a new state, would Labour then support Israel in defending itself, or would it demand a ceasefire and criticise it for genocide?
Well, this is the thing, and the thing that I find interesting is that when Angela Rayner was filmed and the footage was leaked of her speaking to a group of Muslim leaders up in the north of England a couple of weeks ago, she was said to be overstepping the mark because she was promising them that Labour would recognise Palestine as a state, when in fact the furthest that David Lammy had gone in the past was to say that would only be considered as part of a two-state solution. This seems to be going exactly down the road that Angela Rayner said that she would do.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're seeing across the Western world with many political leaders this kind of triangulation and positioning where they've got their values and their general orientation, but they're trying to keep different constituencies happy by watering it down, by giving sweeteners, by compromising. And I think that what a lot of voters really just want to see is conviction politicians who have their values that are shared with ours, and just stand behind them without making compromises. I think that would be a clear example of leadership. By the way, I'm not just criticising Keir Starmer for this. David Cameron also has been quite rather equivocal with his support for Israel. I think what voters really want is politicians who say what they believe, which aligns with what most of us believe, and then sticking by it, which is that Israel is a democracy in the Middle East battling for its life against the same enemies that would wish us death and destruction on our streets. Let's stand up to them.
Exactly right. And you won't have found any more comfort on the front page of the Times today either, where they've investigated the Green Party. And it turns out that as many as 20 potential candidates for the Green Party have shared offensive material online, which is clearly anti-Semitic, including suggesting that the Hamas atrocities on October the 7th were a false flag operation orchestrated by Israel.
Yeah, I mean, this is just another demonstration of the dangers and the radicalism of the hard left. They don't really have any particular party allegiances. A lot of these people were in Labour under the Corbyn years, during the Corbyn years, but have since left with Keir Starmer, with Keir Starmer's purge, and now finding other places with which to try to gain some power and some platform to advance their agenda, which is hostile not just to America, to Israel, by the way, but also to America and, of course, our own country here. These are people who stand against the statue of Churchill at Palestine protests, who attack the police, who attack the UK flag, and who feel ambivalent towards the cenotaph. They're against all of us, not just Israel.
No, exactly. And just to go back finally to the recognition of Palestine, a couple of readers, a couple of viewers and listeners have said to me this morning, well, which part of Palestine are they recognising? Do they recognise Palestine, including the West Bank? Does that mean that, the Jewish settlers will have to move out? Nobody's really quite sure what they're even going to recognise at this point.
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, there are no borders that have been agreed, and recognising Palestine before anything's been agreed is quite clearly absurd, infantile student politics. Also, I would note that the Palestinians themselves don't want a Palestinian state. They've been offered it on numerous occasions, beginning in 1947 and over the years many times. Pretty much 100% of their desires have been put on the table by Israel, and they've rejected it because what they want really is a Palestinian state instead of Israel, not as well
Right.
as Israel. And so for the West to go over not just the heads of the Israelis, but also the Palestinians, and so you might not want this, but this is what you're going to get, has echoes of paternalistic colonialism, not really what you'd expect from Labour.
Quite. Well, we're going to be watching it with some interest over the next few weeks anyway. Jake, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Jake Wallis, Simon's there, editor of the Jewish Chronicle.